everybody is realizing how bad it's really getting in America right now. Trust me, it's everybody. Let's go ahead and take a look. What are people talking about now?
About y'all. And my childhood was amazing. My adult life has been good. I never saw what's going on with this world coming to what it is. And it's very, very painful. But I think a lot of it is people have just lost humanity. They've lost their kindness. And the old adage, be kind or be quiet, is so easy to do. So for the people that don't do it, they just don't want to. And that is a problem. That shows so much about their character. Now, there are times we have to speak up, but for the most part, we should just be kind or be quiet. I'm so sorry that the world is the way it is for my grandkids. It's just very, very hurtful. I don't know. Tell me what you're thinking. I love you, bye.
I've been so embarrassed to say this, but somebody said it was the age of disclosure and that more people should disclose about how they're doing financially as Americans. So let's just be honest. I work 40 hours a week. I can't afford an apartment. I physically can't afford an apartment. On paper, I can afford it, but after taxes and everything, it would be a strain. But I also can't afford to live in hotel rooms because hotel rooms have gotten way more expensive and they're about the same price as a high dollar apartment. So I've been trying to do that. I am like $30,000 to $40,000 in financial student loan debt because I was trying to get my bachelor's degree to fix my life. Unfortunately, the government decided that a psychology degree wasn't worth it, and so my grant was taken, and I don't qualify for student loans anymore because they say that my income to whatever ratio far outweighs how much it would cost to pay back my student loans. So I'm stuck in a dead-end job trying to make it happen. I can't qualify to get an apartment because my credit is bad from when I had a mental breakdown and I quit my job. And I had to use my credit cards in order to pay for everything. Then I'm homeless. I am living in hotel rooms or living in my car sometimes if I can't afford a hotel room because I'm trying to pay back all this stuff on my credit for an apartment that won't even put any of the payments that I make onto my credit. So they use credit as a way in order to qualify you, but they don't actually put any of your payments for you paying your apartment on your credit.
That makes sense.
It's bad in America. Like, it's very bad in America. I'm blessed to have the job that I have, but I can't physically afford anything. I have been trying my hardest to try to, budget my way out, try to pay back things so that I can afford an apartment. In the meantime, I can barely afford food. I can barely afford to put a tank of gas in there. I use the last of my money to put some gas into my car because we're expecting some bad weather and I want to be able to at least get somewhere in case it happens. Gas is at like almost $4.50 a gallon. Gas is at like almost $4.50 a gallon. I am struggling so bad. I don't even know how I'm doing this. I'm trying my best to be enthusiastic and to be happy, but I am crying on a regular basis and I feel like I'm drowning. And I don't want to say anything to anybody because I don't want to lose my job because they're firing people for being homeless. So I don't even want to tell them that anything. I've just been holding so many things inside that I can't take this anymore. Like, I just really wanted to say something to somebody because it hurts. It literally manifesting as actual physical pain, how much stress I have no family. My family doesn't give a fuck about me and hasn't for a long time. I was going through the worst time of my life and they just basically told me to get through that shit. I had 2 mental breakdowns back to back, lost my job, lost my benefits, lost my apartment, lost my dog, lost my best friend, lost everything. And nobody gave one singular fuck. And I've been doing all of this shit alone with very, very, very minimum help. Apparently, I make too much money to be able to benefit from any of the programs, but I don't make enough money to be able to afford my anything. Like, I'm eating once a day, if that, in order there. I still go to the gym because it's the only place I can go to charge my phone and to be somewhere without somebody trying to call the cops on me, which has happened a couple of times. Simply just sitting in a parking lot because I didn't have nowhere to go. It's been rough the last couple of months. All I want to do is get my own apartment so that I can feel safe, but that looks like that's not even going to be a possibility anytime soon. And now 2 of the credit cards that I have are actively suing me in court. And so I tried my best to put in some payments in order to stop them from suing me, and the payments are taking pretty much my entire check. So that's what's going on with me. It feels actually good to say all this out loud. It's kind of embarrassing to tell a bunch of strangers, to be perfectly honest, but honestly, it just feels good to get off my chest.
We were sold a lie. I feel like the majority of us who are under the age of 40 were sold a lie.
Like, I feel bad for you, man. You're going through what a lot of Americans are going through. I mean, working 40 hours, businesses aren't really allowing overtime like that anymore, right? They have their own expenses. The cost of rent is insane. We just did a video on alternative living where people are living in tents, They're trying to find short-term, long-term hotels that, still are in the $1,500 range, which is about as much as an apartment. Like, it's getting serious out there. People are living in their car. They're fabricating storage units. Like, it's really getting tough. And you're totally right. Like, you add student loan debt, you add all this. You're chasing the American dream. You're trying to get a degree. Even like, you thought that was like the go-to route. That's even failing right now. Gas is higher than giraffe nut still. And it's crazy. You can only afford to eat once a day. Like, damn. You get what I'm saying? The best thing you can do, I say, is get a Planet Fitness membership. Try to afford the $20 for that, and just go in there and take a shower when you can. At least you just have, like, a water fountain and a place to, like, pee. But even still, like, who wants to be in a Planet Fitness for 8-10 hours? You get what I'm saying? So it's tough. I totally get it. Trust me, you're not alone.
On what life should look like, and it's insane. We were all sold on this American dream, the lie of what adult life looks like, of home ownership and having a stable job and being able to have a family and yada, yada, yada. And none of that looks the way it should based on what we were sold when we were younger. It's crazy. We were all sold on this future and what our lives could look like if we just did all of the right things and took all of the right steps. How amazing is it that we are fully functioning adults who have grown up in an era of being sold a lie on what life should look like, but literally all roads lead to none of that. Unless you got lucky and were able to be one of the last ones with a foot in the door for what a life looks like. Our society just no longer functions in a way that supports that. It's amazing how many of us have less access to food, education, and housing. 3 pretty basic rights that I feel like we should all have access to, but at this point, and especially in the United States, I understand that we have a baseline level of privilege by living here. However, it is rapidly going down the drain, spiraling the toilet here in America. Our access to those things, basic necessities, basic rights, right? Things that keep you alive. Just crazy. We were sold a lie as very young people and then brought up in an age to still try to make that happen while it was quickly deteriorating right in front of our eyes. It's just crazy to me.
No, like, I really think she might have a point, man. You get told these dreams when you're a kid, and 15, 20 years later, you're trying to chase these dreams. They're not the same anymore, and nobody's doing anything about it. Like, she's totally right. Totally right. And I totally get it.
I saw a video a little bit ago where somebody was saying what's going to happen when the bubble bursts and none of us can afford to live anymore. And I know this is going to seem really unrelated, but I promise it's way more related than you think it is. I need you to look into the West Virginia coal towns. A couple examples of towns like this would be Thurman, West Virginia, or Cass, West Virginia. These are mostly in Raleigh, McDowell County, places where the coal is basically the only industry. Now, if you're not from Appalachia, you maybe don't know what a coal town is. I'm going to tell you what a coal town is. Coal town is a town that is owned by a company. This company owns the coal mine that is in said town. And back in the early 20th century, the early 1900s, through about the mid 30s, and I can get more into Blair Mountain and such if y'all would really like, because Lord knows my coworkers have heard my dissertation on it. These companies came in and they bought up land in West Virginia for cheap where these mines were. They built up towns. They built company housing, company stores, a company doctor. Everything in the town was owned and paid for by the company. The doctor that saw you when you were sick, the grocery store where you went and got your groceries, the school that was educating your children. All of this was owned by the company. And in owning all of this, the company could also set prices of everything. Now, there was another side to this, and that is coal script. Coal script is company money. It's essentially monopoly money. And that's what these people were paid in. That's what these workers that were risking their lives in these unsafe mines were being paid in, was essentially monopoly money. This monopoly money was only good at the company store. So if you live in the town of Cass and you only have coal script for the company that owns the town of Cass, that money cannot be spent in the town of Thurman that is owned by a different coal company. So if you don't like the doctor that's in your town, you can't go see a doctor in another town unless you got some kind of cash somewhere from another job. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say that if you're living in company housing, working in the company coal mine, and shopping at the company grocery store, you don't have any money. And that is what is going to happen if we get to the point that the average American cannot afford their basic everyday essentials. That's what's going to happen. These corporations are going to sweep in. They're going to buy up all of our properties. They're going to buy up our houses, these cities, everything. And we're all going to be living in company housing. You can live in this company house, this company apartment, this company pod, whatever, as long as you work for the company. But what happens when you don't work for that company anymore? What happens when that company replaces your job with AI? Now, not only have you lost your job, you're homeless, and you don't have any money saved, because eventually they will try to pay you in whatever the next variation of coal script will be. We've already seen this happen. If you're asking, how did this go away? How did we stop doing this? It was a fucking bloody fight to get out of it. To get out of this situation, the United States government had to fire upon its own citizens to get their protests to stop. Obviously, it worked, and over time, this system did go away. These company towns are no longer in existence. There is one that's preserved somewhere down there. I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but it is preserved. You can go see it. It's run by the National Park Association. I don't know what the National Park thing is, but it's run by the National Park. My grandfather, a man that grew up in Eastern Kentucky in the 20s and 30s and was a D-Day veteran at age 19, always told us that you have to know where you came from to understand what's coming. The United States education system has done a really, really good job of not teaching us anything past World War II or just kind of glossing over it or anything, because that's when people started fighting back. Cold Wars in West Virginia, civil rights, labor union. And John F. Kennedy was elected president, bought and paid for by Joe Kennedy, with the state of West Virginia running on safer working practices and union principles because of the shit that had happened to those people in recent memory. So like they always say, those who do not know our history are doomed to repeat it. And there is a section of our history, particularly in Appalachia, that has been suppressed from general education for a long time because these people did rise up, these people did fight back, and these people fucking won. Things are not okay. Things are not going well. It's a bad time, guys. It's a bad time. And unfortunately, I fear, along with a lot of other people, that it's going to get worse before it gets better. And that's if it gets better. I mean, this is the first time that a lot of the adults that are around right now are experiencing a shit economy. The last generation, which is mine, the older millennials, we were in college during the last Great Recession, during the housing market collapse and all of that. We didn't own anything. A few of us did, but most of us didn't own anything. Most of us were still in college. So this is a lot of our first time kind of navigating this thing. And a lot of us don't have our parents or the safety nets to fall back on like we used to as well. So anyway, do yourself a favor and look up some coal towns in West Virginia and see what a living hellhole that was. And let's make sure we don't end up back there, shall we?
I'm just curious.
Wow, that's thank you for that history lesson. That was intense, man. Just imagine getting paid in Monopoly money. I mean, really pretty much treating you like a tool. All right, you don't exist. You're just a tool. They're doing everything to cultivate their own little environment in their town so they can keep that code going. It doesn't surprise me that companies did shit like this. Like, it does not surprise me, but it is getting bad. And no, for the hell of no, I do not want us to go back to having cold towns and living off script. Like, I feel like, damn, doom us all if we have to. Please do
Anybody
not.
else has noticed the trend of places closing down? A gas station that
I do know a lot of, man, there is a lot of places closing down. Brick and mortar places are shutting it down left and right. Malls, empty, abandoned malls in every single town. Suites, just does not make any sense.
is close to where I live, that, I mean, it's a busy area. Their last day was Saturday. I saw that Party America in my town is shutting down. Quite a few restaurants have closed down recently. It's a trend, not a good trend. And I'm just curious, I'm in Southeast Alabama. Has anybody else noticed this throughout the U.S. anywhere else? It's sad and worrisome.
Years back, I made the decision to leave the United States. Not a great hair day. We'll have to go to the restroom and adjust that. But I decided to leave the United States for reasons of logic. It was not an emotional decision. In fact, emotions had to be shut up because I didn't want to leave the United States. Emotional attachments, years of investing into a city. 12 years I was living in LA. I built something there. Had a life, friends, family. But I got up and I left the United States because logic has to prevail. Deep down, I'm a stoic, okay? I don't allow emotions to play a part in any executive decisions, and neither should you. Though emotions are going to fuel certain thoughts and they're going to motivate us, when making an executive decision, you should not let them be a deciding factor. At least I do not let them be a deciding factor. And I look at logistics. What's happening in the United States right now? What's been happening in the United States systematically since I was a kid? I was going through my things and I read a poem that I wrote in 2004, 5. And it was while I was still in university. And it was called America, Where Have You Gone? And it was all about all the things that have happened in the United States, the way we've been deregulated. These were during the Bush years. Those were bad years. Now, they look like nothing compared to what we're seeing. But realistically, they were one of the nails in the coffin. America, where have you gone? And I talked about the America that my grandfather had come to in 1947 when he got off the boat. And he was a waiter, and he was able to work as a waiter and build a life for himself. Within a few years, he was able to go back to Cyprus, find my grandma, bring her back to America, married her. They built a life. A few years after they had been married and had a kid, he bought the diner that he worked at, the Pretty Lady Diner in the Bay Area. He worked, he bought a house in 1960, in 1961, somewhere there. After 1 year, he paid it off. Bought that house for $17,500. At the time, that was a lot of money, but it wasn't so much that he couldn't pay it off in 2 years. He was able to put his kid through school, my mom. He was able to buy stocks. He made great investments. He bought Apple when Apple was new. He bought IBM in the 70s. He invested his money smartly, and the man died with a good chunk of wealth, which my grandma was able to inherit. By the time I was coming around, there's no such path to home ownership. There's no such path to starting your own business with the same potential, the same ability to take risks. The American dream was alive and well when my grandpa came. He brought 3 of his brothers. He brought my grandma's brother. My whole chain of family in the Bay Area, my American roots come from the fact that my grandpa was able, with $40 in his pocket at the time, to go to the United States and build something. Now, in 2012, after a decade of being out of the United States, living in Europe and studying, I decided to do the same thing. I had a month's rent. I had a car that I had inherited, a 1993 Nissan Sentra that I inherited from my grandpa's brother, Mikhailis, and I had $340 cash in my pocket. It was a different kind of journey than my grandfather had. Was I able to build something? I was. I also had 2 master's degrees and in a profession that didn't matter. But, I had certain advantages, and yet still, that American dream was just always something that was being pitched to me, but not something that was realistically tangible. I realized something as I climbed in the ranks in different fields in the United States. I worked in one field for many years, then I switched over to business. And I realized something, the more I brushed shoulders with people at the top, the more I worked with people at the top, is that everyone at the top, almost everyone at the top, was born into the top. It wasn't like they were able to scratch and claw their way up. We hear these stories about they started with nothing. Very few people in the United States started with nothing. The percentage of people that become millionaires that don't come from wealth to begin with, it's a tiny percentage. It's a tiny, tiny percentage. Everyone that's wealthy almost comes from some form of wealth. The American dream, what does it take to buy a house now? People get 50-year mortgages. And they have to get a mortgage on their mortgage. They have to refinance and this and that to make investments. Most businesses go under in 6 months, and it's usually a capital thing. The American dream is not there. It's a slave nation. You cannot just, sure, there's AI and there's tech and there's this, but you still need someone to invest in you. You need someone, some form of a benefactor.
For sure.
And we hear these stories. It's like Hollywood, Clint Eastwood was climbing up a ladder when he got a job. What does a house cost now?
A lot.
I'm selling houses out here in Dubai. We're selling houses. You can get a villa, for under $1 million in Dubai. A beautiful villa for $1 million or less. What do you get in LA, New York, Chicago, Miami for under $1 million? What does your food cost? What does your petrol cost? What do your cigarettes cost? It's untenable. Logic drove me out of the United States because I saw the people as a whole weren't standing up for themselves and weren't fighting for change. We feel rewarded from posts. We feel rewarded from certain protests. But where do they then lead? Has the change occurred? Are the Democrats good? Are the Republicans good? Is anyone doing what's best for America and for Americans? It doesn't seem that way to me.
Can we have an honest conversation? What the hell is really...
You know what I was thinking, man? He moved to the UAE, but how many people are actively trying to look to move out of the United States? It's just a comfort zone. It's a scary thing to move out of the country. All right? But you see how other countries are just doing so well, man. You see Mexico coming up with universal health care. Other countries have already done that. The price of living is just not as much. I think Vietnam has the lowest cost of living in the entire one of the few countries that has the lowest cost of living. Those things, United States, you got to move to Mississippi. It's the cheapest state, Mississippi. Half of the people who live in the country probably don't even know where it's at in the map. And not only that, they can't even tell you about maybe one city in Mississippi. You get what I'm saying? So it's just one of those things, man. It even costs. It costs a lot of money to move out. That's a big risk
going on right now? I am at a point in my life, I'm 32, going on 33 this year. I'm at a point where I have my career. I'm making life-changing money. If this was me back in 2018, my God. But anyway, that's not the point. I make great money, but it doesn't feel like it.
Right.
And I'm so confused. This economy is so trash. And I don't want to hear anybody talking about, oh, you're living above your means or you're not saving. Saving? Jesus Christ. Gas is almost $5 a gallon. Getting fruit at the grocery store is $8. What did I see for $8 the other day? Was it grapes? It was something. And I was just I ain't never. I just feel like y'all not mad enough. I feel like I am being ripped off. I'm unmarried. I don't have kids. So of course, there's no benefit to that. We don't get any tax breaks. We don't get nothing. America hates single people without kids. Let's just say that. But seriously, something has got to give. Like, I am so tired. I'm tired of this. How are y'all doing it? I feel like no matter how much money you make, we all just trying to survive right now. Yeah, like,
How is everyone
Yeah, man, they're saying that even if you make $100,000 a year, it just feels like you're just not even living, right? After taxes, after getting no benefits, after not being able to be eligible for anything, like you still get left with nothing. Let alone you try to, raise some kids on that. It's just gonna take dual income for sure.
affording life? Real question. How are you guys doing it? Because my daycare costs the same as our mortgage, which
Oh,
is just
not
wild
even
to me. And I had a
finish
crash out
daycare.
earlier today just about how really expensive everything really truly is. And I just don't know how you guys are doing it. So I have a corporate 6-figure job. I should be able to afford life. We're not doing anything wrong. Just life is expensive. And I'm the breadwinner in my household. There's this constant stress, hanging over my head all the time of you got to make more to provide for your family, especially in this day and age. And it's wild because at the same time, I'm stuck in these corporate handcuffs and I am going through burnout. I don't want to continue doing this. I have the mental load, hanging over my head. I'm trying to be a good mom, let alone a good wife, daughter, sister, friend, which I'm failing at all of those things, I feel like. And if you have any tips or tricks of how you're getting through, we'd love to connect on them.
No, look, man, a lot of people are feeling a burnout, man. You are working to sustain. Once you get to a certain level, gosh, you already know when you keep working, you just want to keep working, right? You're like, I need to make more. I got to make more. I got to keep doing this, man. It's just sustainable because soon as you get to a point where you sustain, you're like, okay, now I can start saving. And then something happens in the world where the expenses go up. And guess what? You're not able to save because you are paying for everything at this point. All right. You're trying to live a little bit. You're trying to actually enjoy life. And if you're making $100,000, guess what you're doing? You're probably trying to enjoy life just a tad bit instead of just being very frugal, right? You're probably at least need a decent vehicle where you can travel, right? Or you can roll the streets. You'll probably have daycare fees, like she said, because you can't work and watch the kids at the same time. So you have to pay that extra amount of money to have a decent daycare. It gets beyond everything. But guys, let me know where you're watching from. How do you resonate with some of these people here? And man, if there's something that you wish was more affordable right now, put it in the comments below, and we'll I'll chat with you there. Thank you for watching.